I wonder which screen I'm supposed to look at though, the YouTube one or just this one?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Tom's Hardware Show. It is August 27th and 3 p.m. Eastern Time, and we are kicking things off live. Yes, we are live right now. So if you're watching this currently on YouTube or Facebook, you can send in your questions via the chat room, and we'll be answering questions on air by the end of the show. We have a very exciting episode this week. We're going to do a little modding, talk a little flight simulating, and check out some colorful new gaming products announced this week. So let's meet this week's guests. First off, we have Tom's Hardware staff writer extraordinaire, Michelle Earhart.
Hi.
Hello. What's going on, Michelle?
Not much. Flight Sim just came out, so that's been most of what I've been doing, both for reporting and also in my free time. It's been taking over my life.
That's allowed. I totally support that. So we also have the absolutely brilliant and very successful PC modder joining us, Jesse, aka JPModified.
Hi, good morning. Good morning on whatever continent you guys are watching from. It's 3 a.m. here in the Philippines. I'm wide awake. Don't worry, I won't fall asleep on you guys. Just keep the questions coming. Glad to be here.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, I don't know if I would be on the show at 3 a.m. I mean, it'd be an interesting show, though. It'd get weird, but
Tom's Hardware After Dark.
So, since we got you away, Jesse, could you tell us a little bit about what you've been working on this week? Any cool mods or projects you've been working on?
For the past probably since the pandemic thing started, but right after like our city borders here opened, I went back to business. I was really busy with client builds. I also have a lot of commission builds from companies. I have one I'm working on with Gigabyte or with Oris, one with Lee and Lee, one with Republic of Gamers, and one with a lot of basically everyone, Cougar, and some local stores here in the Philippines as well. But right now, currently what I'm working on is what you see behind me. I wish I could pull the camera all the way over there, but the cable is probably like 2 inches long. So, but yeah, so it's that I'm focused on right now. There's kind of like a deadline on that. So, yeah, it's Manny Pacquiao. I don't know if you guys are familiar with boxing.
Of course,
yeah.
Manny Pacquiao. It's a tribute build. People have been asking me if he was the one who commissioned me to build that. To answer you guys, no. It's just a tribute build I attributed to him. Because not only here in the Philippines, he's not only a boxer. He's more than that. He's a senator. He's a all around good guy. Helps out a lot of people. Met him a couple of times because he plays pool. I play pool too. Yeah, he's a pretty decent player actually. We played we played not in the same category before, but he was a pretty decent player. He was a good guy. It's probably like a decade ago, maybe, or more than a decade ago. But yeah, back then when I used to play pool. But yeah, this build is a tribute to him. That's all. Hopefully he gets a glimpse at it, and that's it. Also working on a desk PC for Republic of Gamers and EK Water Blocks and Lee and Lee. So that there's too many projects on the pipeline. So
can you tell me a little bit more about the Pacquiao build? It looks like I think you have the colors of the Filipino flag in there.
Yeah. So I don't know if I can. Okay. So it's not too much of a view, but yeah, it's built on a Cougar Blazer case. Yeah. So we decided to keep the colors, relative to the Philippine flag and also to what Manny wears on in the ring. It's usually blue, gray, some red and stuff like that. So that's we're trying to just incorporate that. We don't want to put any images. We don't want to put his face on it because that's the type of modder I am. It's like if I were Manny Pacquiao or if I were a boxer, I wouldn't have my own face, plastered on my on whatever I wear on the ring, right? So I'm hoping something like that would make a lot more sense for, let's say, Manny Pacquiao if he wants to play like Call of Duty or whatever, or Minecraft, or Minesweeper. That he'd want it on his desk, without having his face all over it. But so
So what parts are
everything
in
else,
there?
it's custom water cooled. We built the reservoir for it from scratch, and that's basically it. Yeah, the target here is to keep it patriotic as we can without going overboard. So
So are there components in there, or are you still
yeah,
picking those?
everything is inside. The last piece of the puzzle that we were waiting for was the power supply. Power supply came in 2 days ago. Right in between things that I was working on too. So we're gonna put the power supply in tomorrow, hopefully, and get it running the next day, and then do a final video shoot and put it out on Facebook, or on YouTube. So that's what we're currently working on right now.
So can you? I don't know if you're keeping it a secret for now, but can you tell us anything about the CPU or the graphics card or the
Oh
storage
yeah, it's
details?
it's running 10th gen Intel processor, i7 10700K. It's also a co-op with Aorus, so it has a Aorus Z490 Master. Yeah, Z490 Master motherboard. It has a 2070 Super GPU, also from Aorus. Everything else is custom. A mix of water cooling parts, because we decided not to go with a specific water cooling brand to support this, because we kind of needed this to happen as soon as we could. So no
Do
time
you
to
have
reach out to other
the
people.
Do you have the colors represented in the lighting at all? Like, is there RGB in there or?
Yeah, there will be definitely. Actually, no. The only thing that has lighting on this are the fans, because there's
Okay.
really not much space to put much lighting on it, because it's an open frame case. It's not a standard closed chassis. So there's not a lot of places you can put LEDs and stuff without making it look like a Christmas tree with all the with all the wires and stuff dangling out. So we're trying to keep it. Yeah, I'm gonna try to put some lighting on the reservoir, and that's basically it. It should be simple. Hopefully, it should be desk worthy. So we didn't really want to go overboard and make it look like a Computex build that would
Right.
look absolutely impossible to be in front of the desk or on
Right.
top of the desk or something like that.
That's cool. So you're basically, like you said, you're making a build inspired by a person. So
Yeah.
Michelle, if you could do a build inspired by a person, who would that person be?
Oh gosh, any person, a build inspired by a person.
I'm gonna go
Oh
real
no.
person, not fictional. I don't want a
Well,
Batman
yeah.
build.
No,
That's
a
okay.
real person. Um, a Sharon build? No. I guess actually, no, that would be fun. What if I did a build inspired by our lovely editor in chief, Avram Pilch?
She's trying to get a promotion. Okay.
It would be shaped like a raspberry pie, and it would have a custom ThinkPad. It would be a laptop. It would have a ThinkPad keyboard built in, just everything he loves.
Wow. Well, our next editor in chief, it will be Michelle Earhart. So stay tuned for that. Well, Josie, this is awesome. It's really cool to see what you've been working on. You live a really cool life of getting to do modding for work, and you're a professional modder. You're successful in this industry. So, what advice do you have for anyone who's aspiring to be a pro modder like you?
Um, there's no real formula to to getting to where you want to go to, or to go where you want to go to. It's in my personal opinion, because a lot of people like took the same route I took, but ended up with a little bit lesser success on it. Other people took a different route and then ended up with with better, if not better, success at what we did, or what we're doing, or where we're at right now. So there's no real formula in terms of achieving things you want to go, you want to aim for. Uh, the only real formula, or the only real ingredient that I always like to let people, share with people is, just keep the will. It has to, a lot of it has to do with the will. If if you will yourself to do something, you're able to do it, because there's a lot of people that are also in my industry right now who have just started, that kind of stopped early because they felt that you know they just didn't have the passion anymore. I did. I always have. So, and also I got lucky. Probably, yeah. It's probably a lot. It has also a lot. Has a lot to do with luck. But I don't know if you guys are familiar with the definition of luck. It preparation meets opportunity. So that's luck. So we it's not like we prepared for it, but we just kept at it. We didn't have people, we didn't have followers, but I just like to do it. So, and then there was an opportunity that came, that when someone else came to me and said, "Hey, what you did on that thing, can you do for me?" And then I did that, and then everything just happened from there. So preparation met opportunity. So we got lucky that time. So that's
I think
basically it. That's no real formula. Just
luck
keep at it.
definitely follows talent. So
Yeah.
we do
Yeah.
have a question from a reader, which is actually something I've wondered myself, which is how much does performance matter when you're doing your mods? Do you ever just use a Celeron or low-end CPU to save money?
It depends. It depends actually. Modding is it's a totally different entity in terms of modding is the art. Modding is the actual art itself. We've done plenty of mods that had low end hardware inside, because again, it was not the focus on the performance. It was the focus on what we were able to achieve, or the art that we were able to um, portray, or make out of whatever we were given. So um, modding for me is just modding. If I wanted a real ultra fast PC, I'd buy the the latest and greatest. But again, you know, it's nice to have both of them, but it's also nice. It doesn't really matter when it comes to modding. You can Modding is relevant regardless of whatever.
Well, you got the powerful stuff for Manny Pacquiao, but I guess he's powerful.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we were. Yeah, that's also luck. We were lucky enough to get a good sponsor for it. Intel hopped on board, Oris hopped on board, Cougar hopped on board. So it was pretty smooth sailing. But what I always like to say is, if you're looking at modding, modding is modding. It's totally different. It's the art form that comes along with that. It's a different thing. Performance can vary. The performance is ultimately dictated by your wallet. So, so yeah, that's basically it.
Awesome. Well, guys, we have one of the best in the business on the show right now. So if you have any more questions for Jesse, definitely put them in the chat. Like I said, and we'll be trying to get to those throughout the show. One of the things I love about this job, about working at Tom's Hardware, is getting to talk to people like Jesse who do amazing things that I can't do. Something else I can't do, believe it or not, is fly an airplane. But there's a solution for that now, right, Michelle?
Yeah, Microsoft Flight Simulator is out now, and it is taking off. Is that too much to say?
No,
It
it's
is.
not.
It is so wildly popular right now, and I think the reason for that is, previous flight simulators have had their niche. Whether you're a hardcore sim pilot or you like toying around with systems and hardware like us, but this one is especially hitting even like mainstream audiences, and I think the reason for that is it has a Bing Maps. Bing is relevant. Bing Maps powered 1-1 recreation of the planet Earth. So you can go pretty much anywhere in real time. People have like phoned themselves taking off from LA and going to Las Vegas for the hour and a half, 2 hours that takes in real life. And it will show you mostly accurate geography and infrastructure for wherever you're flying over, using satellite imagery and then using computer mapping to go ahead and actually model that out, and then adding in cars, and even like in savannas in Africa, they have animals. If you haven't tried flying there yet, they have like little landmarks for where you can go and see elephants and stuff. So it really makes the whole world kind of feel alive. And in quarantine, where I've spent most of this year stuck inside my apartment, it's been a blessing to be able to go to my childhood home, my
Oh,
childhood school. That's the first place I went to. Is I didn't go to like the pyramids or Mount Fuji or
you went
whatever.
back to school.
I I went actually I went back to church very first thing. The first thing I looked at was the childhood church I went to growing up.
You're
Which,
such a nice lady, Michelle.
well, it's also like a good bearing for like where to start finding things in my neighborhood, because when I first like looked up my house, I couldn't quite tell immediately from the air which of them was mine. But what's cool about it also is it doesn't just recreate geography, but it recreates weather too, and live flight patterns by streaming data to your PC. So right now in the United States, we have Hurricane Laura, which hit earlier today in Louisiana, and caused a lot of damage, is still causing damage, but seems to be getting weaker as it moves more inland. But what has been happening in Flight Simulator is a lot of people have been flying to where it's hitting and actually being able to see it in game, because Flight Simulator uses live weather. So like, whereas the geography is taken from photos that might be a few years old, there's some skyscrapers up near my apartment that don't show up in the game, for instance. And I live in New York, which they've been very careful with how they model. The weather is real time. So I hadn't thought of that being a destination as opposed to the places. But I mean, storm chasing has always been interesting but terrifying for me. But here's a safe way to go ahead and do that. And the shots people have been taking of Hurricane Laura have been very impressive so far.
Cool. So how are you playing this game, Michelle? Because I don't think you're just using a keyboard and mouse, right?
No, I'm not. So I think what's really they've worked to make this game really accessible regardless of whatever control schemes you're using, and I think that's part of why it's been so popular. It's set to come out on Xbox Series X when that launches, but right now it's PC only. But because it's set to come out on Series X, it's built to be all controllable via controller, which is not how I've been playing it, but it means that they've worked to make it so that you can kind of do your ideal setup. So what I've been playing it on is this flight stick that I bought a few years ago. Not a few years ago, last year, for Ace Combat 7, which is a more arcadey sort of combat game. And it's actually been working really well for Flight Simulator. Obviously, I don't have all of the controls an actual pilot would have. Although I did write about an Airbus pilot who logged into Flight Simulator and tried to control it like he would control an actual Airbus, and it had a few inconsistencies. Mostly the in-game in-cockpit displays weren't as accurate as he would like. They only showed like the information you would exactly like need in the game as opposed to everything. But as far as like setting up his autopilot, he was able to control the game mostly with I'm trying to get my mouse on screen, mostly with a mouse and just clicking around on the controls that are rendered in the cockpit and adjusting his autopilot, which is another way you can do it. But if you want something more simplistic, you can set the simulation to not be as realistic as an actual pilot, and then it will give you only like the most necessary controls, and then you can map those to a flight stick, which is what I've been doing. And this one was about $75. And I feel like it hits the sweet spot. It's the T-Flight HOTAS 4, and it made by Thrustmaster. And it hits the sweet spot for making me feel like I'm controlling a plane without requiring me to know how I control a plane. So it has this throttle that you move up, and you can just like leave it wherever you want your plane's acceleration to be. It doesn't snap right back to the middle immediately, which is an advantage over a controller. Then you have this stick, which you can pull back on to go up, pull forward on to go down. Obviously, Flight Simulator doesn't have combat in it, so this trigger, this like missile button and stuff, you're not going to get a ton of use out of that for its intended purpose, but you can remap these to be however you want. I found that the default mappings weren't that nice, but like I set these two buttons to be my trim, which if you're not familiar with planes, controls how much, I'm learning so much about planes, controls how much you go up or down, basically controls your nose's position. And then this is my yaw, which is how you kind of slightly veer the plane left and right without needing to perform a full roll, which you would do by moving the stick left or right. These are normally foot pedals, but this flight stick lets you control it with your fingers, or if you want to, you can also twist the joystick. And then I've got these to be my flaps. You notice it has PlayStation buttons on it, and that's because this was originally built to work with PlayStation, but it will also work with PC. But that means you've got all the controls that you would normally have on a game controller, which this game is built to go with. But then also the fun form factor, but the utility of a flight stick as well.
Cool. So I have two questions now for Jesse. One, have you played this game before, or simulator, I guess, whatever you want to call it? And two, have you ever done a flight simulator mod?
Yeah, me?
Yeah.
A flight simulator. No, I have never played that game before. I've wanted to. I was introduced to that by a friend of mine who lives in Canada, who's also a modder. We talked about it a couple of times. About that Thrustmaster, but never had a chance to play with it because I'm afraid of heights.
Oh no!
You're not really up high
Yeah.
though.
No, because it's no, but you know, it's anything that's related to flying is something that kind of messes with my head. So yeah, so
I
it's
understand.
like so like when we
completely.
play Call of Duty, when you jump off a plane, it's like okay, it kind of gets to me. I got used to it, but yeah, so I'm afraid of flights.
So I love flights, but one of the first things I did in this game was fly to my boyfriend's parents' farm. They own a farm, and take overhead photos of it and send it to them. And his mom sent me back saying, "That's amazing, but please don't send these to me. I'm terrified of heights."
Yeah.
But no, I totally get it.
So
Yeah, it's fine.
Michelle, Silver Ghost wants to know if Area 51 is in Flight Simulator.
I hadn't thought about going to Area 51, but certainly it is. And actually, you can set. I've tested this out. You can land pretty much anywhere. I've set damage to like not be a thing on my plane, so it doesn't. I don't end my game session when I hit the ground, which means that I can take my plane down, just drop it in the middle of cities, hang out, and when I want to fly back up, fly up. So you can probably be the alien that crashes in Area 51 if you want to. You
That's
can
an
also do
awesome
water
question, though.
landings, which are what you're supposed to do.
I
I
like that
have
question.
I have a question. Is it your birthday, Jesse? We have some
No, no, no,
comments.
no, no. It's something that we modders started last Computex. It's like instead of saying hi, we say happy birthday, and people thought.
Okay, I
So
was
yeah,
like, oh, I
Mike.
didn't bring a gift. Oh no.
So yeah, Mike kind of brought it with him over on the stream. We do it all the time to each other. So
Hey Mike, glad you're
what's up,
here.
Mike?
He's laughing at us. Okay, awesome. Well, keep the questions coming. Keep the false birthday wishes coming. I don't mind that. I like to see the emojis, so that's great. So I do have a couple things I want to show you all because this is the Tom's Hardware show. So we've got to show you what's in the lab lately. And so this week, Logitech actually brought a lot of color into the lab. So I'm going to show you some of the peripherals they announced. So just give me 1 second, blow up my screen a little bit. But so for one, have already had this keyboard. This is the G915 TKL. It's a 10 keyless wireless keyboard, but this week they made a new version of it, which is a white version of it.
Ooh.
Wow.
So I'm curious what you guys think. I mean, I think this looks nice. The silver, as you can see, it's like reflecting off the sun right now. It's really shiny, really pretty. But I think this brushed dark gray look is just so premium and deliciously expensive looking that I can't imagine not buying it. What do you guys think?
I love it. I love
So
the white one.
I love 10 keyless keyboards because they give me more real estate for my mouse. Although personally lately, because I've been playing Flight Sim, I've been having to use a 10 key because it has a photo mode where you fly a little drone around and the controls for that are bound to a 10 key. So I have this little USB 10 key that I have for my computer.
But which color?
But which color? I don't know. They both seem premium to me. I'm
Variety
used
is
to black
good, right?
keyboards. Is the
What do you
thing.
think, Bessie? You're the one with the artistic talent here.
I
Well,
would
no
want the
offense, Rochelle. You might be artistic too.
I would want the white one
You do?
because it would go on my good fit well with my desk because it has a white it's a white desk. My
Wow.
PC's black, but it's a white desk, so
Does it light up at all?
Yes, everything here lights up. I could show it to you. I've noticed that the RGB doesn't come off great on camera. I'd recommend you go to our website, tomshardware.com, and see the photos that I labored over. So they're more accurate in terms of the color.
I have the logo on my screen, so there you go.
There you go. Yeah.
Tomshardware.com.
So Jesse, you said you liked white. So this is a G203 light sync from Logitech. So this had been out for a while in white and black, but this week they brought us the purple
Oh
version.
wow! I know someone who'd want that. My kid.
That looks
color
like
is purple.
Aw.
But I'm sad that they made the cable white. There's also a blue version, and the cable is black. So it's like they took the original cables for the black and white version and just added it. So I wish the cable matched the mouse, right?
Matches your the chair you're sitting on.
Yeah.
So that is
Perfectly.
one good thing. I do think this is a better shade of purple. They call it lilac. It's more pastel. I think it's more versatile than this very like grape soda kind of purple.
True.
But
That's why I asked about the lighting earlier, because I think the white, like with good neon purple lighting on the keyboard would be great. So then just like seeing this purple mouse is it looks like a nice pair of sneakers or something.
Well, I could try to show you the RGB. Oh yeah, you can't really see.
That's a
You
really
kind of.
nice looking keyboard, though.
I think
That's
like
really
that would work really well in conjunction with the mouse if you set the lighting to match it.
And which you can, because it's Light Sync, which is Logitech's RGB branding. So in the software, anything Light Sync, you can get to sync with each other. And somebody wished me a happy birthday, I see in the comments. So
nice.
Happy
thank
birthday,
you,
Sharon.
Robbie. I feel like a modern now. Awesome. So bring it back to the mouse. They also released it in blue, like I said. So again, all of these reviews are on Tom's Hardware, so you guys can check that out. And I also have some headsets to show you. So they released this is the G733 Lightspeed. You get RGB, you get and you brought up sports before, Michelle. This is actually sports inspired. So the ear cups have like this jersey material like that you find in like a basketball jersey, for example, like that mesh fabric.
What
And you
does
get
sports inspired mean though? Can you use it like when you're exercising, or is it just meant to evoke the feel of sports?
Andrew reviewed this headset. I don't think he did sports in it, but
Mm,
it's like this jersey. It's lightweight. I mean, I wouldn't run in this, right? Because it's pretty bulky
yeah.
for running in. It's lightweight compared to other gaming headsets. But yeah, I think in terms of inspired by athletes, it's like the sport design and the lightweight build.
Okay.
Essentially. And
Probably
also though, the
it
color.
works well when you
Oh,
swim.
Yeah. Take your headset into the water for sure. That's a great idea. You heard it here first. So there's a purple version. They also have it in a couple other colors. But purple is obviously I'm trying to turn on the RGB. Oh, the RGB is on. Okay. So the headbands are also interchangeable. They're selling separate headbands.
okay.
And
Is
I
that
can.
green or yellow?
It's a little bit of both. It's like green and yellow. Here, I can make my screen
Okay.
bigger.
Because white,
Right.
purple, and green is a good color scheme.
Yeah. So that's like what I appreciate. Like you get your options, right? Like not everything has to be white and gray, or maybe even dark blue. So what I can do, check out the review. Like I said, our colleague Andrew Friedman checked these out. So if you want to know about the actual audio quality, definitely read that review. But I can briefly show you what the mic sounds like. Of course, I'm using a desktop mic right now, so it's not going to be as good as a formal desktop mic, but you can get a feel for the sound. So just give me one moment.
While Sharon does that, just to go back to Flight Sim for a bit, with this flight stick, it's got a couple of features that I didn't show off earlier. Something that a lot of flight stick people have is they don't like to have their stick be an all-in-one. They want to be able to like control it like they're sitting in an actual chair. So some flight sticks, this one included, have an option where you can
Oh wow!
separate out the throttle and the stick into separate pieces and then put them wherever you want it. And this is a good cheap way to do that as well. It's the T-Flight HOTAS 4. And then some flight stick people like their stick to be able to twist, but if you don't like it, you can take a screwdriver and there's a screw here that you can stop it from twisting. Oh, we can't hear you quite yet, Sharon. Just gives me more time to talk about flying. It's funny, before we started the show, if you haven't noticed, I have a big case of Gundams behind me. And Flight Simulator, not quite a giant robot, but probably the closest thing I'll ever get to piloting a giant robot. So that's another reason to fly if you want to enjoy it. It's part of why I got the stick. You got to feel like you're in the cockpit, you know?
I have been inspired to try that. It's probably going to be one of the key things to like, to help me with my fear of flights.
I feel like in this case specifically, the hardware really helps the software. I wouldn't be really that interested in this game if I were just playing on keyboard and mouse, because a lot of it, to be honest, is just kind of sitting there and making mild adjustments. But this makes just making those mild adjustments feel nice.
What kind of computer do you need in order to run that game, though?
So it's interesting. I believe the very minimum specs are an i5 or i7 and a GTX 970. So it actually doesn't need to be that intense if you want to keep it on low settings. I'm using a 6th gen, I believe, i7 and a GTX 1080 for my personal computer. I haven't upgraded it in a little while, except for the RAM. And I can get smooth over 30 FPS on medium settings. It wanted to set my game to high settings automatically, but I found I dipped below 30 a few times on that. So medium is really where I really wanted. Although if you're sightseeing, you might want to set it to ultra, at least temporarily. And then like you can pause your plane in midair and then fly the drone around and get your shots. And then it doesn't really matter what your frame rate is, except for your comfort. But you're not going to crash or anything.
So can you guys hear me right now?
We can.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know why you couldn't hear me. I'm not going to blame it on the headset. I'm going to blame it on being on live video. But to make up for it, what I'll show you about the mic is that Logitech also released these little pop filters. So you can make your mic look like an emoji or a mustache. Or you can be like passive aggressive in conferences and be like, no, we can't write that article.
I think we have our thumbnail for the video, just like the mustache.
Or you could be like inappropriate in video conferences.
Oh no!
That would be perfect for a streamer. Yeah,
Nice.
that's. I think that's their main target for that one. That's so cool. I like it. It's original.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a little bit about some of the peripherals Logitech announced. So definitely check out those reviews. So I'm going to answer a couple questions right now. So if you still have a question, it's not too late to put it in. We have one question for Jesse asking if you've ever modded a keyboard before.
Ooh, that's a great question.
One of the earliest mods that I did was a keyboard, but I never really actually went back to it because it's pretty hard to take apart a keyboard.
What did you do to it?
Yeah,
I just painted it white. It was an old Cooler Master keyboard, a quick fire TKL, something like that. Like probably 7 years ago. It had it was gray. I wanted it to suit my table. Painted it white. I also painted the keycaps white.
That I have here.
Logitech, hear me out. I like that.
I know you like the black for looking premium, but it's not like white keyboards are unheard of. But I think if we have to compare the two, the white is little bit rarer, and I think just seems a little more special then.
The
if
thing
people
I like
are paying to get their keyboards modded to look white.
Yeah, the thing I like more about the white keycaps or the white keyboard in general is because the dust, that drops on your desk is less apparent on white surfaces. And also when the oil on your fingers don't really show on a white keycap, so that's why
easier to clean.
Yeah, that's why I'm always lean towards white if given an opportunity. One question though, on the mouse that you showed me earlier, what kind of coating does this have? Is it rubber or is it like a gloss coating? Or something
It's just ABS plastic. But it actually is a little bit textured to the point where I thought it might be the more premium PBT plastic. So it's just a slight texture to it. It feels nice. It's quite good. It's not like the same amount of grip as like rubber grips, obviously, but yeah, it's good.
Because the thing about rubber grips is because the over time the your hands will make it yellow or give it a gray, and it's really hard to clean. So if I were to choose a white peripheral, I'd prefer it to be just straight plastic. Nothing on top of it. So it's easier to clean that way if in case it does discolor.
If it does discolor, how would you clean it? Like, do you have tools or advice there?
Yeah, there's something I learned. I have two hobbies apart from PCs. I do, RC racing. I don't know if you see that. There's a little, you know, off-road vehicle right
Oh
there
yeah.
under
Offer.
yeah. So we do a lot of cleaning when it comes to that. Um, there's this product called Simple Green foam. Usually we use that to clean the plastics on the RCs. I tried to implement that on other things with PC, especially with matte black colors that kind of have, let's say it's matte black and you hold it and then your fingerprints tend to be shinier than the other parts of the, so in order for me to clean that up and make it evenly matte again, I use a Simple Green foam wash. It also works well on anything that's white. The walls here at the house, especially, when I work, it's like I have dirty hands, and then when people call me, it's time for lunch or something like that. It's like okay, I get up and then my hands end up everywhere. So I noticed that there are handprints on the wall. So we clean it with that Simple Green wash foam. So I think it would work well on that one because we have a white headset that we tried that we used it on. It actually made it, go back to its original
Shade.
whiteness. Yeah, the
Yes.
original shade. Mhm.
Doesn't look
Cool.
like an old Game Boy or Super Nintendo.
No, that kind of looks yellow already. But yeah, it works actually. So just guys check online for foam wash, whatever you call it.
Yeah, good tip. So we have a couple flight simulator questions. One is asking if this is the game that sells 2 billion of peripherals, and I think Ruru too. I know what you're talking about. We actually published a news story citing an analyst pointing to projections that the game is going to lead to $2 billion worth of spending in PC hardware. So not just peripherals, also the components and things like that. So yeah, that is a real prediction. I can't remember the exact date they expected that spend to be. I want to say 2022, but I'm not positive. But our website has the article, and you can get all the facts. But yes, that is a real 2 billion is a number being associated with this game.
Yeah.
This is a question Michelle might know the answer to. Does internet connection speed matter more? Have you found internet speed to be a factor in how well the game your experience is?
So I have pretty good internet, but my boyfriend's dad, for instance, who's interested in playing this game, is still on DSL, and he would, from what I've seen from other streamers, he would not be able to stream this game easily. By its default state. But what's nice about Microsoft Flight Simulator is I think internet connection speed does matter if you just want to like plug and play, start the game, and start flying instantly. But if you have a data cap or if you have slow internet, there are settings in the game to get around that. So there's settings to like stop streaming data to your computer once it reaches a certain point, which I know isn't the question, but it's something that a lot of people will need to take into consideration. But there's also an option to download a cache to your computer. So say you want to fly over Manhattan, uh, but but you're afraid you won't be able to stream all of the buildings in Manhattan instantly. What you can do is you can set your computer to download Manhattan, which I believe is 5 gigabytes from what I've seen. And then it will download that, and then you can click fly, and everything will already be loaded, and it won't need to stream anything because it'll be in your cache. So if you have slow internet, what you can do is, I don't know, the night before or a few hours before, depending on how your speed is, you can start downloading the cache for wherever your destination is for that night. And then you can click play, and boom, you'll be in the city. And because it's downloaded and won't need to stream, you'll also be seeing it in the highest possible quality. There won't be any throttling or anything. So that's also something that people with good internet connection speeds have been doing too is just downloading areas where they intend to fly ahead of time. And then they'll be, they won't have to worry about streaming data, and they'll be able to see everything at once with no pop-in or any concerns like that.
Cool. We're getting all the tips on this week's episode. I'm going to get a clean keyboard. I'm going to get Flight Simulator to run smoothly. I'm going to have a good weekend.
As for the peripherals question too, I mean, this costs like $75 or so, but it's fairly entry level. The same company, if you want to, makes $400 aircraft Warthog flight sticks, which are recreations of what it's like inside an actual Warthog, I believe, helicopter. And it's basically a one-to-one recreation of the flight sticks inside that helicopter. They do the same thing for Airbus controls. You won't be getting a whole command console or anything,
Right.
but you can go all out if you want to. There's a subreddit that I've been looking at, r/home cockpits, where some people have some really wild setups. There's a YouTuber I've been looking at called Home Sim Pilot, who has 3 monitors set to like imitate the cockpit on either side of him, which that's not that rare. But then he also has another monitor below that, which he has plugged into a program that takes all of his instruments from Flight Simulator and displays them on that monitor. Then he has a front panel that he bought from something called Nuna Simulations that you put over that monitor to make it look like the actual aircraft panel and make all the little instruments that the monitor is displaying look like they're on their own separate screens. And then you can add different, you can add a radio box, you can add pedals, you can make your home into a cockpit if you're willing to spend. This guy spent $7,000 on it. So the range for this is maybe 75 for something that does like casual, what I want to do, to 7,000 if you're an former like actual pilot and he just doesn't want to like pay to keep a pilot, to keep an aircraft at a at an airport or anything. You can get some pretty wild expenses on this, but it's still much cheaper than actual flying. Which this has gotten me into looking up. There's some planes that you can buy for under $30,000, commenters. So if you want to, if this game gets you interested.
So we have one viewer saying, I don't know if this is true or not. They're saying an A-10 Warthog, by the way, is a
ground support plane.
I don't know. I thought it was an animal. So
yeah, last I heard
the A-10 Pumbaa.
Learn something new every day.
Sorry, it's been like I only looked that up when I was buying the flight sticks, so I'm not an army girl, but
well, that is about all the time we have for today. But Jesse, I'm so glad you made it. You stayed awake. It's about almost 4 a.m. for you in the Philippines where you are. But do you have any last words for our viewers?
I don't know. Mod on, basically. Get yourself, if you want to involve yourself onto, if you want to get yourself into anything, be it modding, be it overclocking or whatever, just do it because you like to do it. Don't do it for the sake of other people. Don't do it for appreciation. Don't do it for fame, for fortune, or anything like that, because you're going to be disappointed. If you expect that out of something that you want to get yourself into. So you do it because you like it. Do it because it makes you happy. You do it because do it because it keeps you healthy. So if it's modding you want to get yourself into, then go ahead and do it. Go grab your PC, take a look at it, stare at it for a few hours, and see what you can come up with, and then go ahead and execute. And then do it for yourself and show it off. People will not like it. People will like it. You won't get a full crowd all the time. But then as long as again, the main purpose is to do it for yourself first before you do it for other people. So that's it.
Great words. And if they want to catch up or stay caught up with what you're up to, Jesse, how can people take a look at your
Uh,
work?
I'm on more active right now on social media. We do have a YouTube channel that we kind of put in the back burner for a while. Our YouTube channel is over 100K subscribers already, but we haven't put any videos out for the past probably 3 months. We have tons of backlogs on that. We will be back soon. Right now, we're just kind of, trying to relocate our passion for that YouTube thing. But we will be back very soon.
That's
And
JPModified, the channel,
yeah,
right?
JPModified on YouTube
Awesome.
and JPModified on Instagram, on Twitter, JPModified everywhere. So if it's
Yeah.
JPModified, that's probably me.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thanks again, Jesse, for joining us. Michelle,
Thank you for
thank you
having me.
for taking us around the world, kind of, right? A little bit, a little
Whatever
safer.
helps other people reach for the sky. There we go.
You're so inspirational this week. I love it. So we will, of course, be back next week, everyone. Thursday, 3 p.m. Eastern. We'll be live again, taking your questions. If you can't catch us live, of course, there are replays on YouTube and Facebook. And you can download this episode and the previous episodes as a podcast, wherever it is you get your podcasts on. So that is our show. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks.